I suppose since I was a little girl growing up on a cattle property in the Clark Creek area, I always sort of had dreams of doing something a little bit different. And I told a story yesterday that I've got my mum, Miriam Crozer, over here too, who I must thank. She taught me correspondence during my primary school years. But in a way, she must have instilled some dreams or something with us, because I always had this passion for doing something exciting and to travel the world and work with wonderful people. And I remember sitting in the back veranda at a house when I was 6 years old, and I think I had my pet chook and my pet pig, and I was sitting there and I was thinking, yep, okay, I've had 6 years of fun, now it's time to get serious. And I suppose from then on in, as I've gone through life, I sort of went down the nerdy path, like a few of us here, with studying industrial chemistry and civil engineering and some business, but worked all the time while I was doing those studies, and also had 3 wonderful children, and kept my husband as well. But going through life, I mean, I've worked with some amazing people, and I think it's one of those things, if you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't mean you need to go out tomorrow and just do your own thing by yourself. If you can be an entrepreneur with a great group of people, and I'm really honoured with the team that we have at CQG, sitting over here, great group of people that also get what you get, that you can do things differently, that you can try different things, that you can have a go. It might seem like a crazy idea, that it won't all be successful. And I worked for a few years in different organisations, sugar industry, timber industry, did a bit of a stint in the government, that didn't work so well for me. But then worked with some large engineering consultancies, and I really saw in that sort of side of things just how these big consultancies were all about how much money they could make. So they'd swoop into the regions, swoop into Queensland, and it was all about how much you could charge for the next job and how complicated you could make it to make sure that they needed you for the next job. And that really just, that wasn't what I was about. So I guess it was one of those moments again when I reflected back to when I was 6 years old, saying, look, I've only got one crack at this life, is this what I want to do? And it wasn't. So that was the time I said, well, I need to get out there and do my own thing. So it was about 13 years ago that I started CQG, and that was the best decision that I've made. I've been able to, when you've got your own business like that, you employ people who you want to employ, you work with people, clients that you want to work with. It's not all easy though, you have some pretty tough times, and we're in a space, as most of you in the room would know, well, we've been involved in some pretty controversial projects in this region, and we deliberately get involved in those sort of things because we need to have development in this region, and sustainable development. So we sort of jumped in with the Great Keppel Island project and had a big influence on the redesign of what they were proposing to do on that island to minimise those environmental impacts and the cultural impacts. We're also involved in the barging transshipping project down at Port Albert. Again, that was a great one to get involved in because that was looking at doing something that required very little dredging. So we sort of we work with entrepreneurs as well, and that's pretty exciting. And behind the scenes, we also get involved, and I'll give the credit to Andrew for this one, with doing things in a different way. Like the Lakes Creek Road landfill here, we were looking as ratepayers having to pay astronomical amounts of money to take our waste down to Gladstone, and that would have started late last year, early this year, I suppose. And Andrew's one of these guys who's an entrepreneur himself, and he's sitting there not wanting to pay any more rates and thinking about the cost. It was pretty big. It was going to be tens of millions of dollars every year on ratepayers, and came up with and had a look at what is happening around the world and said, well, why don't we just extend what we've got over here? We've got this landfill, and let's extend it with this new technology with geomembranes. So we are saving Rockhampton Regional Council ratepayers over $10 million a year. Now those sort of things that are happening with a lot of us in the room, with entrepreneurs or people that, even if we're in government positions, if we're working for the university, we're working in business, that in this region we've got a whole bunch of people that come up with some fantastic ideas that don't only make differences to what we do in our business. It's not all about the dollars, it's about other people and making all of us successful by working together.